Come, let us explore this dawn's meditation class and group practice that we too could meditate like a Jedi. This morning's opening lesson is based upon the 42nd passage of the meditation classic, the Unwaning Victory Banner, composed oh so many centuries ago by the great Buddhist reformer Prahevajara. Together let us relaxingly recite. Great bliss arises spontaneously self-perfected from the incomparable, I should say, it's a necessary preposition, from incomparable pristine awareness. So incomparable and comparable. Same word, different pronunciation. Solely and exclusively as pure presence. Reality cannot originate from anything else. Now, this is a particularly juicy practice. Sadly, it only makes sense within the context of the essential teachings of the Buddha. So I'm going to review them right now, not exhaustively, just enough so that you, A, can make sense of this passage, and B, have a good meditation session with me this morning. Yes, that's right, I do have an ulterior motive. I don't know about you, but I live in the United States of America, which went from walking towards fascism to sprinting towards fascism. I live in an extremely stressful environment, and it's been my experience that everyone can benefit from these secular meditation techniques I'm about to share with you. So my ulterior motive is that humans be less stressful and more resourceful. Having said all that, I'm going to shift the display from the teaching text to a set of visual aids. And by the way, both these visual aids and the teaching text are available for free download. Okay, so here we go. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. That suckiness can look like the majority of us being raised in cultures where we are conditioned to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. However, there is always a minority of us who want to be our better selves, who would rather be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. That's why people turn to mindfulness and meditation. However, not only do 90% of humanity suck, also 90% of meditation teachers, which is really unfortunate because we wind up getting really bad advice. What kind of advice, you ask? Allow me to illustrate. The majority of teachers who are following, whether they know it or not, a patriarchal path will advise their students to actively focus and actively analyze. And they might use different synonyms. They might call this mindfulness, which it is not. They might call this concentration and contemplation. They might call this samatha and vipassana, but it's even these have very old and mysterious sounding names from different languages. It doesn't change what they are. We evolved a prefrontal cortex whose medial and dorsolateral regions are capable of focusing and analyzing, but we evolved to do those things sparingly. Kind of like on your car, your spare tire is very, very small. We call it a donut wheel. It's enough to get you to the mechanic or the tire shop. You don't want to do a cross-country journey on a donut wheel, right? So same thing here. When we over-focus and over-analyze, it exhausts the front of our brain to such a degree that we begin presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression, which most people feel are antithetical to the peace and to the love that they'd rather define them. Now, the good news is this. Neither our amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, our autonomic nervous system, which is a real fancy name for our spinal cord. We can think of our spinal cord in terms of the middle bits and the end bits. The fancy name for the middle bit is the sympathetic nervous system, and it is evolved to help us to notice in a very special way that is the opposite of focus. This middle bit of our spinal cord is evolved to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Notice what? Notice all manner of phenomena. From the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque, including sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. What are we to do with all this stuff? Glad you asked. Each time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access the end bits of our spinal cord that the fancy people call our parasympathetic nervous system, kind of like bookends holding books upright on a shelf. Now, this parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us to both physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and even less defining. We go from sincerely feeling I'm angry to saying I'm experiencing anger. And there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between defining ourselves and merely recognizing a fleeting condition. Huge difference. But in every culture, humans communicate figuratively. And the most famous way of figuratively explaining this is in the following manner. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, way back in 4th grade, my teacher explained that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So we have to ask the question, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, feels non-graspable to the hand? There you have it. Emptiness or voidness is just a metaphor of the fleeting experience of non-graspability that fades as soon as we begin our next inhalation, and that's fine. Our job is not to just inhale or just exhale. Our job is to passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system in a way that helps us to be the healthy, well-adjusted adults that our dogs already think we are. The simplest way to practice all of this is as follows. Each time we feel our diaphragm pull in and down, we could silently and mentally, as we inhale, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this as we mindfully notice mind's antics. Each time we feel our diaphragm relax back up As we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease as we practice the meditation of simply relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Now that you are armed with a good sense of the essence of what's going on, let's return to this morning's teaching text. Great bliss arises spontaneously self-perfected from incomparable pristine awareness. Awareness is a synonym for mindfulness. Pristine is a metaphoric synonym for emptiness. As we breathe in, we notice all sorts of stuff, the good, the bad, and the ugly. As we relax into our exhalation, things feel as if they are blissfully melting into non-graspability. My choice, my use of the adjective bliss or blissfully was not an accident. Many people squander their lives chasing bliss. There's a fancy word. What's the word? It'll come to me. But they chase bliss from unsustainable sources. We have two systems in the basement of our brain. The first is dopamine oriented, and it is highly competitive, and it chases fleeting pleasure. The second system is oxytocin oriented, and it rewards for cooperation oriented fulfillment, which is a long-term pleasure. Illicit, that's the word I'm looking for. Most of us are wired, we're all wired to chase illicit sources of bliss. Those mechanisms evolved not for fulfillment, for procreation of the species, either to get us to make as many babies as possible, or to keep us alive long enough to make as many babies as possible. It's the way evolution is predicated. If a species does not reproduce, it doesn't pass on its genetic material. The only way it can pass on its genetic material is through reproduction. Therefore, that part of our brain that is competitive and hedonistic and self-destructive is the deciding factor of evolution, which is efficient, but also not fulfilling. Great irony is that by cooperating with our autonomic nervous system, we basically have bliss on tap. And that doesn't mean we don't experience other physical sensations. We experience the full spectrum of physical sensations and emotional feelings. But our life is much more blissful by simply cooperating with our mechanism of pristine awareness. Let's continue to the second half of this morning's teaching text. I'm going to recapture the momentum. Great bliss arises spontaneously self-perfected from incomparable pristine awareness, solely and exclusively as pure presence. Reality cannot originate from anything else. So, pure presence has been hijacked by many people. Some of those people are baddies with bad intentions. Most of them are just dull-witted dummies who just believe what they're told without testing the teachings in the laboratory of their own body. For instance, they don't stop to say, gee, I'm applying these teachings and I don't like the results. Maybe I should re-examine the teachings. They just plow right ahead. And then they teach other people, and we got a bunch of people with great confusion. So there's this myth that pure presence or that mindfulness means we're only focusing on the here and the now. Number one, focusing is going to make us miserable. Our job is not to focus, but to notice whatever comes up. To notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, as I mentioned a handful of minutes ago. So pure presence is not a contrived state that we have to strive to maintain. Pure presence is simply another way of saying pristine awareness. Presence is being vulnerable to our perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Being completely vulnerable. Pure is when we passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system's tendency to relax in harmony with our exhalation. That's it. So pure presence is just us cooperating with the natural mechanisms in our body, the mechanisms which work quite well at taming the the dopamine-oriented reward system, which really could be likened to the Tasmanian devil in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Reality cannot originate from anything else. It is not our job to visualize our current reality or visualize our ideal reality. That is an indulgence of our controlling tendencies. The phrase, if it's to be, it's up to me, is not good advice. It's a lie from the pit of hell, if there is such a thing. Reality is simply, we experience reality or ultimate reality simply by cooperating with our autonomic nervous system. And to do that, we practice mindfulness and meditation. Having completed this morning's opening lesson, it's time for us to now shift gears. It is Yoda Monday morning. Let us meditate like a Jedi. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping, this is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. So I mentioned neurodivergence because if I'm off-putting, it's not because I'm weird or because I'm stupid or because I'm dangerous. It's because I'm neurodivergent, which means I'm a professional card-carrying weirdo. So welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, let's play with mindfulness and meditation. Now, the most efficient way for us to keep track of our first collection of 144 inhalations is for us to rest the first knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger, palms up in our lap. We could keep track of our next 12 inhalations by touching the tip of our right thumb to the three sets of creases found on each of the 4 fingers of our right hand. So, if you have arthritis, you may wish to gently adjust your legs once every 15 minutes or so. Because we don't get extra points for suffering. We could count 12 sets of 12 inhalations each by touching the tip of our left thumb to the 3 sets of creases found on each of the 4 fingers of our left hand. Remember, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. For I tend to check for questions about every 5 to 10 minutes, give or take. Good morning and welcome to our group practice. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 5 to 10 minutes. But here's a good hook to hang your hat on, figuratively speaking. Mindfulness is simply noticing vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Noticing whatever comes up, the good, the bad, the ugly, the interesting, the boring, you name it, whatever comes up. The easiest way to do that is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel our diaphragm pull in and down as we inhale. The easiest way to meditate is for us to physically relax as best we can during our exhalation. To facilitate this, we'll want to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun, want to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease as we feel our diaphragm relax and return to its upright position. Every 15 minutes or so, you may wish to adjust your legs to ensure joint health. To help us keep track of at least the beginning of our second collection of 144 inhalations, we could rest the second knuckle of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger, palms up in our lap. As Obi-Wan Kenobi said to Luke Skywalker upon the Millennium Falcon, you have taken your first step into a much larger world. So I say to you in the tradition of YouTube, if you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's dusk meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.